I don't think there is a smell that I love more than what we're making today. I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free gingerbread cake, and it's going to make your house smell like heaven. Hi there, I'm Nikki Sizemore. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free gingerbread cake. It is so tender and rich. It's one of my favorite cakes, but it's actually a healthier gingerbread cake. It has far less oil and sugar than most recipes, but you're not even going to notice. Today we're going to slather it with a super easy maple cream cheese frosting, and stay tuned because at the end of the video, I'm also going to share how you can transform the cake into a stunning dessert for a special occasion meal. It would be perfect for the holidays. So the first thing we're going to do is measure out the dry ingredients. If you watch me here, you know I love using my kitchen scale. By the way, it is pouring rain outside. I don't know if you can hear it. This is the first time I've ever had to shoot a video with lights on in my kitchen because it's so dark and rainy. But rainy days are my favorite day to bake. I don't know about you, but like rainy days and snow days, this is where you'll find me. So I'm using my kitchen scale. If you don't have one, I always include cup measurements, but I highly recommend it, especially for gluten-free baking because it's so much more accurate and it's so much easier. You don't have to break out your measuring cups. So what I'm doing is measuring out 1 cup, 148 grams of gluten-free all-purpose flour. I will link to my favorite flour blend below. And then 1 cup of almond flour, 110 grams. So the almond flour in this cake is really important because it helps give the cake a really rich, moist texture. I found that using just the gluten-free flour created a tougher cake. All right, so I've got my flours ready. Now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder and then the spices. I have 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, and a ¼ teaspoon of cardamom. But we're also going to amp up the flavor with some fresh ginger in a minute, and then some salt. I didn't try gingerbread cake until, gosh, I was a kid, and I went over to my friend Mary's house, and her mom had made a gingerbread cake. And I had never had gingerbread, to be honest. I had gingerbread cookies, but it was like, there's something about the spices and that slight bitterness that kind of contrasts with the sweetness of the cake, and I was hooked. It's one of my favorite cakes, and it's my favorite smell. All right, dry ingredients are ready to go. Whenever I'm using almond flour, a little trick is to get in there with your fingers. Sometimes almond flour can be really clumpy. So just get in there and make sure that there's no little lumps. Looks good. Now for the wet ingredients, I have a ½ cup of milk, ¼ cup of maple syrup. This is actually naturally sweetened. We're gonna add maple syrup and some coconut sugar instead of granulated sugar. I love the flavor of maple syrup in here, that like smoky sweetness. But you wanna go for the good stuff, not the imitation stuff. We got the coconut sugar, just a little bit of neutral vegetable oil. Whatever oil you have is gonna work. We have 2 eggs, and now molasses. So for me, it would not be gingerbread cake without a little bit of molasses. Molasses is actually made, it's a byproduct of the sugar making process, and it's a little bit bitter, a little bit sweet, super strong, but it gives the cake such a good flavor. We're gonna measure out 2 tablespoons. Right. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm just eyeballing it. Maybe a little more, that's okay. And then last but not least, we are going to add some fresh ginger. So the fresh ginger is really gonna give this cake that hint of spice in the background that I love in a gingerbread cake. If you prefer a milder kind of spice cake, then you can omit it, but I'm keeping it in. And here's what I do to peel fresh ginger. So I just kind of go around and get most of that skin off. And then we're gonna grate it using a microplane. And that'll make it really nice and finely ground so that it incorporates really easily into the cake. You only need a teaspoon. Pop, pop, pop. Perfectly a teaspoon. Plop that in and we'll whisk this together. We are gonna combine everything. All you need to do is pour those wet ingredients over the dry ingredients. And that's it. That is the batter, super easy. So I've lined an 8 by 8 inch pan with parchment paper. This is gonna make it easy to pop it out later. You can skip that step if you just wanna serve the cake in the pan. And we're gonna transfer the batter right inside. So good. I think one of the reasons I love the smell of gingerbread so much is that it immediately smells like the holidays. Spread that out a little bit. You wanna make sure that you get it into all of the corners. That, my friends, is all you need to do. Bake the cake in a 350-degree oven until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Only needs about 20 to 25 minutes. We're gonna top the gingerbread cake today with a 2-ingredient maple cream cheese frosting. This is the same frosting that's on my healthy carrot cake. It is my favorite frosting ever, and it's so easy to make. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese in my bowl. Now the only trick here is you need to let your cream cheese soften at room temperature. If you forget, one of my tricks is to stick it back by the oven as the oven preheats, and that's gonna soften it up faster. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just whip this until it's really smooth. Now all we have to do is add some maple syrup. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. This little liquid measuring cup is one of my must-have kitchen essentials. I use it all the time for things like this or for salad dressings. I'll link to it below. So the only trick here is you're going to do this at the same time. You're gonna whip the cream cheese while very slowly adding the maple syrup. You don't wanna add it too fast, otherwise the frosting could get lumpy. You do wanna stop and scrape the sides often. And there you have it, this super creamy and smooth frosting. All right, the cake is cooling. It's really important that it cools completely before you add the frosting. I have my frosting, and then a little special garnish that I love to add are my chopped maple pecans. These are so good. They're crunchy, they're sweet, and they're so easy to make. They're perfect for the holidays. I always keep a jar in hand. All right, so I'm gonna scrape all of the frosting out onto the cake. I could eat this frosting just with a spoon. I'm very tempted to. When you guys are gone, I will lick the bowl. It's so good. There's something about cream cheese frosting. It's just my favorite. Okay, so we're just gonna slather this all over top. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this cake, if you wanna skip this frosting step, you can make this cake, cut it up into cubes, and then layer it into a gingerbread trifle with my vanilla pudding and with English toffee. And it is just like the most insane dessert. It's perfect for the holidays, one of my favorite Christmas desserts. And I will definitely link to that recipe below. All right, you can serve this just as it is, but as I said, we're gonna take it over the top with these crunchy, sweet, candied pecans, and it's just gonna add that extra pop. This is just one of those desserts that you can serve like as a cozy weeknight in or at a fancy holiday gathering. I love things like that. That can go both ways. I'm so excited. Let's give it a taste and see how tender this cake is. Let's see how it tastes. That crunchy topping, and then the creamy, tangy cream cheese, and then the fragrant cake that has a hint of spice at the end from the ginger. This is just one of my favorite things. I could eat this curled up in my pajamas, or I could eat this dressed to the nines for a fancy dinner party. I hope you guys give it a try. Let me know if you do in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on any of my wholesome, family-friendly, and gluten-free recipes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next time.